Hello everyone and welcome back to Cities by Steven. You're talking to Steven. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Get that bell notification on too so you don't miss out on an episode. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Skyline6 European adventure. Last time we were in this city, we built a really neat walled medieval city. There's an old town, there's a new town, it's on the water. It was a ton of fun. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. So this is my round 2 build for this project, and I really enjoyed the area that we were building in last time, so much so that we're going to be kind of building in and around the same spot as last time, but we're going to be kind of building a small town with a French flair, kind of modeling it after some of the small French towns you see with local highways running through them. That's going to be kind of the goal for today, maybe a couple other side projects. We'll see, but let's get going on the episode. So here we are in our first build from the series, and we're in the town of the Dog, and Lord Kevin the Dog's castle is right over here, overlooking the port, the Dog port, and it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this. We got the old walled town with a newer town over here with a cool train station connection, and my gosh, the area has been built up so much since we last built in this series. We have a project here by Brian Pickle, Few Candy, Shukaboa, Joy Build Cities, and then all the way over here we got Flyvox's 2 builds over in this area, Brad Plays, and we also have the wonderful Raid Kitty over here, and all the way over here we have Pilot Build Cities over on this side. So wonderful project, tons of amazing builders, and where are we going to be building today? Well, we're going to be building between my first build here and Pilot's build. We're going to be kind of looking at this local highway here and kind of building a town somewhere around this spot here, utilizing this local highway as kind of the old route through the mountains. So the town has spawned up around it. It's now become a highway. There'll be lots of traffic, and we're going to have fun playing with it. So we're going to build up a cool town here. Lots of farm action happening in this area. We won't go further than this green patch over here, and we'll kind of connect up into Pilot's area just a little bit. We'll also look at a way to kind of connect down into the Dog Valley, and we are going to be building a road coming from over here all the way across and connecting into this area because it's going to be a bit of a shortcut to this area. Otherwise, you'd have to go pretty far around the map to get there. So that's where we're going to start off with today, the road layout, and let's get going on that with a cool bridge. All right, so we bridged the ravine. Previously, we put a rail tunnel under here to get to our town of the Dog, and that rail goes all the way over here and connects up into this train station by Raid Kitty's town, and then it goes over to the main train station over here where we have all the trains kind of connecting up into. So that was the first step because I really wanted to get this cool tunnel feature in. Bridge to tunnel, that's a pretty cool combo. Then we get to this spot here where we have a neat little just, left or right, and hopefully that should suffice. We could put a light on here if we notice that traffic is getting too heavy. That should work, but we got dedicated lanes for the left and the right, so hopefully that works out. And now we're going to go all the way down over to here where we're going to get our connection into this road here. This road we previously put in, it connects up to the town of the Dog all the way over to Flyvox's town. So this will be a cool little addition here. Alright, so we got this little connection in here, and now we're going to kind of work our way up. And why this spot in particular? Well, I feel like the gradient all the way up through here, if we kind of swing it all the way around the mountain, we could probably get some good curves in here to make the slope not too impossible. We'll kind of dig a bit of a tunnel. We'll kind of trench a little bit through this kind of mountain peak here, but I think we should be okay to do that. I know this is probably a bit low, but I didn't want the bridge to seem too egregious. So yeah, let's get that road in here. All right, so the bridge is done, the tunnel is done, the road is done. I really, really liked that. And now we can move on to the next part, which is going to be actually building up the town itself. Now, we will have to watch the speed on this, for example, because we don't want to steal all the traffic coming from this side of town down into this side of town, for example. I would love it if we could spread out the traffic because this road could get a little busy, so we got to watch that as the episode plays on. So now we're going to be looking at building in our town. We're going to be working with the road layout to start out, and I'm looking at this bend right here in this little forested spot to be the spot where the town spawns in. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this as, say, some really old town, and the road running through it was at one point not as busy as it was. So the town, the highway running through the town, just like in many small French countryside towns, there is now a highway running through it as the main street. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at doing. Really cool, fun vibe to it, I guess. And we're going to be kind of redoing this curve into something a bit more natural for it to be within a town. And we'll also be doing a bit more terrain work. All right, so I've cleared the trees. I've done a bit of terrain work for where we're going to be building some roads. And now let's kind of build out this fun kind of highway main street that's going to get very busy. So let's start off by kind of just bringing this up here. Maybe we don't connect it up and we just try and make it seem natural. So I want it to be kind of like a really old farming town, for example. So the streets aren't exactly straight, but you know, there is like an aspect to it that defines this as the main street of the town. But I also really like the idea of sharper curves through it as well, because of you know, there's a historical building, for example, that there's a reason why it was on this original corner, and it's just perhaps not ideal for a main street highway kind of aspect to it, but I think that this will lead to some fun challenges. All right, fantastic. Now that we have this, we're going to build off some roads at some key junction points and kind of build off a secondary street layer on either side of this. All right, so we have the basis of our little town here. So let's kind of go over it really quickly. So we have the main highway running through the town, curves and sharp angles, like as if it was just a main street of a town that has since become a large regional road. And we have some fun things to kind of mention. So we're going to have some roads running alongside of these farm boundary lines. Not all of them, just in this case, because this is going to be a bit more developed. Then I'm using industrial roads and dirt roads to kind of simulate, you know, less used roads versus more used roads. So like a road that's typically paved is probably one that's have heavier use, and an industrial road is one that's gone into disrepair, and a dirt road, well, that's a dirt road. And then we have another road running all the way up through here, up through along top of the mountain here. And I can see us using this in multiple ways coming in the next few minutes. So there's a couple of things that I want to do now, and we're going to connect up into pilots areas. So we have this road here. We're going to sneak it into this little connection here. There's an open space here. There's no house there. And I think this will just kind of add just enough traffic support and pedestrian support kind of from this area into our town, while still making it seem like it's an old, unused connection. Now we will definitely make sure that we have a policy on here that makes sure that there is no heavy traffic flowing through here, because I do not want to ruin the vibe of Pilot's build. All right, and with this one, I chose this connection point here because I could sneak it in without destroying any of the houses, but also this is a bit more of a main road here, so I felt like if we could sneak it through this one has some continuity down into here, for example, but Again, we'll make sure that there's no heavy traffic flowing through this. But yeah, we actually have some access into this area now too, which is great. And this forest here is looking all nice and bordered as well, which is neat. Yeah, so that is kind of how I wanted to connect up into here. So we have a bit more regional connectivity, but then I want to do something a bit with some local history of the area. So what I'm thinking of is we're going to have a lot of farm access on this road and whatever else is going to be along into here. Now, there's this little side note, there is a fort here. We'll get to that in a second. So I want to run an old road through here. What I'm going to kind of simulate is that this is the original road, this dirt road, and then they built the highway beside it, the modern road. This way we can kind of get all of this farm traffic and quieter, maybe potentially residential traffic through this area while not having to limit the capabilities of this highway. All right, so we have this historical highway running through here, and I tried to make it seem as much as possible that the old highway right-of-way is still there. Here we can definitely add to this area to make it seem a bit more less sharp of an angle here, or less sharp of a turn. But I want to be able to make sure that cars can turn left and right into here. Now, I do not expect there to be much traffic on this at all. We'll come back and clean up the terrain in a second, but with this little instance here, I wanted to make it seem like this road here used to go into this node in particular, right in this little section. And they've since redone the roads here, hence why there's such a sharp turn and a newer paved section to this road. So now that we have this natural kind of town built up, now we're going to be able to start talking about the next kind of stage of the build. Now we do have the brand new road connection that we just placed in, but I want to make sure that there's at least one other way, perhaps two ways that we can get up into here from down below, whether it's over in this area or over here. I want to make sure that there's other ways to kind of get up to this town, and then also in turn towards the airport and Pilot's build of Chantilly. So one thing that I was thinking of is the cable car. There's no way that we shouldn't use the cable car here, right? Like, look at this, it's perfect. It's almost a straight shot up from our train station right up into the town. And then I'm also thinking we could probably sneak like a walking path up the hill. There's a bit of a wash right here on the mountain, so I think it could work pretty well to sneak a path up all the way through here and at least connect at some point onto this road. Now, the reason why I put this road into here is because I feel like we could tie in this little bump right here in the mountain with this fort over here. So I think we can tie that in down the line. But yeah, let's talk about the cable car, because I think we have a cool opportunity right in this little zone here to get a cable car stop, because we have the train station, which is, you know, very central point of transit, but we also have this tram turnaround. There is a tram stop right up front. This was originally just intended for the tram to turn around. However, there is a stop there. So I'm thinking that if we maybe move the stop to this side, we could get the cable car stop right in here. Then I think on this road right here, we could probably get the other cable car stop. I think that would be really, really cool. So let's do that. And first, we're going to need to find a new spot for the dog park. All right, so the cable car is built, and it's going to be good. I really think this is going to be a good project. And as we can see on the bottom of the screen, it's getting pretty busy through here because all we've done is just kind of move the highway. It was already a busy highway. So we're going to hope that the cable car kind of takes some cars off of the road and also some cars off of that bridge that we made. So to encourage more people to not use the highway itself, we're going to be adding in a bus stop in the same area. We're going to be using the small bus station. I think this is our compact bus station. I think this is pretty much exactly what we need. So plop this down here. We're going to run a couple buses before we even build, because I just think that it's important to kind of show the regional connectivity that we're going to be kind of putting in the area. So first bus stop here, we will just do a bit of a local route. So hopefully that should circulate just a little bit in the town, and that should be good. And then we're going to get another bus stop, and that's going to go all the way direct route to the airport. I would imagine if you live in, say, the Dog, and you want to go to the airport, prior to today's episode, you would have had to drive, get onto the highway, go all the way around, and then up. Now you can just walk to the train station, get on the cable car, up the cable car, hop on the bus. There you go. So it's a lot quicker, hopefully, and easier if you don't have a car. Then the last bus route we're going to throw in for now is going to be all the way out to Raid's build over here with the wedding chapel, but instead of going towards the wedding chapel itself, we're going to go towards this train station. All right, now we're just waiting for the buses to arrive. They're pretty far away from, the bus depot is pretty far away from this, so it's going to take some time. Oh, here they come. So we got the articulated airport buses. That is for the bus route to Gentile, and they're just going to be bunched up for a little bit. We have a local bus as well. It's the smallest one. That's not the minibus. And then we have a double-decker that's going out to the Wedding Chapel Hill. So we'll see those come as we kind of build here. And you know what I'm thinking? This is a farming town. It's not exactly the most walkable town in the world. People will be coming in from their farms, from other residential areas that aren't exactly easily connected to this area. So what's going to happen? They're going to drive and then park and then take transit. So let's get them that parking. All right, so here is the transit hub done. I really, really like this. We have our bus stop with our bus hub and our cable car stop right in the same spot with our park and ride system. Definitely encouraging the people of this town and this region to use the park and ride system. And then we have a washroom and a taxi stand, which could also serve as a bit of a backup bus stop. But look at this. We have a great view of the region as a whole. This is fantastic. So there's one other point of connection that I really think we should get in, and that is one for people who want to be active and get up the mountain. And that's going to be some sort of path system that's going to connect up into here, down all the way through the mountains, and then into the town of the Dog. So I think that should be a good connection point. So let's kind of talk about that. I did add the districts in really briefly. So we have, don't worry about the names. We're going to change the names to something fun in a bit. But we have a district kind of right over here, which has self-sufficient buildings, the farmers market, commercial kind of zone, and encouraging public transit. So that'll be a bit more of a modernized kind of aspect to the town. And then we have the kind of old town, which will be in here, which has the farmers, the agricultural industry on it. And we don't have the old town district policy on because I do want traffic to flow through. What I don't want is local traffic. I want to limit that as much as possible. So hence why we're encouraging people to use the transit. And then we have another district right over here, and it also is up at the top of the screen. And that is going to limit any truck traffic flowing through here. All right, so the last step in our kind of transit slash, getting people from the Dog up to this new farming town is complete. We got this path all the way up through here where we have a bit of a boardwalk up through here through a bit more of a challenging terrain situation. I thought that was fun. It swings all the way around here in this little dip, and then it follows the road right to the bus hub area, the transit station. So I think that's really good addition. Now what we've done so far is, have a way to walk slash bike up, have a quick way up, and then have a way up where you can get your car over to this town a lot quicker. So I think we've done a lot to improve the connectivity in this area. Now it's time to actually build up the town. So we've gotten a lot of traffic through here. We need to definitely play with some of these nodes, get the speed limit changed, upgrade the road through the central part of the town to a 4-lane road. That way there's just a bit more traffic flow through the area. Maybe get a couple lights, we'll see, and definitely get the traffic flowing a lot better than it is. But when we're talking about building up the town itself, I'm going to try and kind of create a bit more of a developed zone and then a bit more of a less developed zone. Perhaps a revitalized area. I think that would be really cool. And we're going to be definitely using some brick housing, whether it's brick industry, residential, commercial. We'll see, but we're definitely going to get some really fun assets going. So with that, let's start with the road. All right, so we got some road changes here. I think this one's going to work out great. We have just a dedicated turn lane here. This one I think is going to get a bit busy, particularly with some of the bus traffic that's flowing through here. So we'll have to look at upgrading some of these roads perhaps to bus roads, trying to remove parking in front of this cable car station. But from here we have 2 lanes going into 2 lanes. I think we're probably good here. I'm not sure how much traffic, except for this one bus line that we put in, is going to turn right at this instance. But I didn't do the speed limit because I wanted to show that we're going to lower this, up this speed limit pretty substantially to something that's probably a bit unrealistic. But what I really want is to make sure that cars don't use these side roads. We're even going to lower these side roads to 30 here. This is kilometers. And because and then lower the speed limits all the way through all these connecting roads, just to make sure that we're encouraging cars to take the highway itself. Now we're going to do the opposite thing. We're going to go to 36 kilometers per hour, 60 kilometers per hour, 37 miles per hour along the highway the entire way. So it's going to slow down traffic substantially. However, it should limit any traffic that's trying to cut some corners and only go up this area if they're actually needing to. And we'll see what that actually brings for us. But also, it's pretty windy and curvy, so it kind of makes sense that we do that. And we have a light on here. We might need to remove that light. We'll see, or at least maybe add an extra lane here. We'll see how this works out, because it is backing up a little bit. We will definitely be watching traffic throughout the episode. So let's get back to the building itself, and we're going to start adding in some actual buildings into the area, starting with hotels. All right, so now let's check out some of the buildings I placed down before we get into the plopping portion of this part of the build. We got a hotel. We got our friendly neighborhood park, which I've just kind of added a bit of detail to, which should bring in some value to the area. We got our school. We got a church, which was previously used by Joy in Bloom Island, which you can check out Joy's episode for the series here. And then we got a post office, we got the bank, and then a bit more of a newer area, plus the police station and healthcare out this way, which kind of plays into the same kind of idea that this road used to run into this node. So that building would have been right on that corner in the past. So I think this works really well. And then over here we have another hotel. I think this is kind of a really neat hotel to kind of use out this way. Definitely kind of like an old manor house right on top of the hill too, kind of overlooking the farm. We'll add some more detail to that over here. We have our fire station near the highway. That's really convenient access. And then we have our cemetery out this way, which I thought was a good location for it. Close to the highway off of the old main road, but far enough away from the town. I think this kind of works. So now we're going to start plopping down some buildings. We're going to start over here with some block housing. We'll look at kind of starting to kind of touch into this area here. Now, if we look at our districts really quickly, we did include half of this as a bit more of a modernized part of the build. I think I'm going to revise that, and we'll use this entire highway for this kind of old part of the town, and then we'll look at some other things down the line. So let's look at some block housing. All right, we got the basics of the block housing in, and this works great. The slight curves on some of these buildings, a bit of overlapping works really cool. I think this building kind of tells a story. I liked the extension of it on this longer road. Yeah, definitely a newer building than these ones. Perhaps there was a fire or something like that. Same could be said for this hotel. It's a bit different than the rest of the housing, but I like the dark brick. I think this works really, really well. And then right here, definitely a newer road connection through here. And I left a gap. Perhaps, again, something happened to the building, but we're going to be able to get a connection point through here to the other side, which will be very efficient. We can get some little parks in there as well. But now we're going to move down on to this side here, and I might actually need to add another district. And we're going to be looking at adding in a bit more commercial, maybe a bit more of a revitalized kind of area. All right, so we kind of got the basics in here. We got the basic buildings in here. I'm going to kind of walk you through the story of this little town. So we have a water tower over here. We got a taxi area. Then we're going to be showing a bit of an area in transition. We have some vacant lots. You'll see them throughout the area. These are just the farming industry buildings. And, I figured this is a bit of an industrial pocket. Perhaps it's kind of revitalizing, changing up over time. And, we have a newer clinic over here. So I think this kind of tells a bit of a story of the town. Then, a bit more vacant lots over here. Perhaps something happened to some buildings. But we have our bank over here. Got a bit of more like a corner store right beside it with a lot of parking. You'll see that throughout. Then we're using some university pack buildings. Why? Because I really like the brick and the brick walls that they have. I think that kind of lends itself well to kind of these smaller towns. We're going to be adding in some more brick walls and a lot more detail throughout the episode. But as we kind of go through here, older buildings. I got the sauna in here. I really like the sauna on a bit of a main street. And, I'm trying to show a bit of an area that perhaps was once built up following, its older kind of era. And then it's since been revitalized again. So it's kind of like a second revitalization in this area. You get the cool bars over here and over here. It's a cool little corner. And then we have the older town that hasn't gone through that revitalization. So we've added that in as well. And, an old grain mill, because you got to go down to the old grain mill, as they say on the radio, don't they? So perhaps a relic of a bygone era when this was maybe a bit more of like an area for cargo or something like that. But now we're over here where we need to develop a bit more of a modernized kind of corner. And I see some trees in the road. We're going to need to get rid of those. All right, and then we just added in a bit more modern buildings, just a couple of these self-sufficient buildings. Kind of shows, again, an area that's being redeveloped new, even like the third revitalization of this area. But it's just so close to this transit hub that it's got to be, a build that has to have been done recently. So I think that's really cool. We're going to add in some bus roads now, and then we're going to name the towns. What's the name of the town we're going to use? We'll figure something out real soon. All right, quick little fix. We got the bus roads in here now that removes the parking up front of these buildings too, which is nice. Definitely trying to make this a bit walkable. We got our little market square here. We got our little public market over here as well. Very fun. Just kind of fitting it into the terrain. I think this is really, really good. So naming the town now. Well, I said we were going to kind of do like a French style, and we're really close to the dog, the town of the dog. So I think maybe we can make some sort of connection between those two themes. Fantastic. So we have the Chais sur Montagne, which is perfect because it's the dog on the mountain. So I think since we're up on the mountain and, we're above the town of the dog, I thought that was a great little fun connection. And it's in French too, because that's kind of the theme we're rolling with. So yeah, we'll come back to this town, do a bit more detailing with some walls and stuff. Getting this a bit more tighter, kind of getting some brick walls kind of along the roads, kind of really constraining the roads. I feel like whenever I'm looking at Google Maps on some of these old French towns, it feels really tight. So I think that's kind of the next step for this area and detailing it up. But what do we have next? Well, we got to give this town a bit more raison d'etre, as they say, right? And if we just go into this view, slide back a little bit. Oh, wow. What is this? It is a fort. So we got the dog fort up here looking over the town of the dog. And I think we need to do something with this. And then we'll kind of tack on another little project to it as well. So this fort is really, really awesome. It overlooks the town of the dog that we did in our first episode for this series. And it also overlooks now the town of the Chais sur Montagne. But it also kind of protects the mountain pass between these two mountain peaks. So I think this is probably its main raison d'etre, but it also has this cool little path running along the top of the mountain where it leads us to this ancient site. So I think we're going to tie in something with that. And then if we go all the way over to here, we have this other little kind of mountain peak. It's obviously a bit less, but it has a really nice overlook of the mountain valley, but also of the town down below the mountains here. So I think this is a really cool opportunity to kind of get like a secondary kind of tower here. So let's go back to here where we see that the map creator has left us this really neat path running all the way down to where we have our highway. So let's figure out a way to connect this area up to our highway and road systems. All right, we have our main kind of focus here, main little connection points. We have our nature reserve, aka national park for the dog fort, and we have a bike path that runs all the way through here, connects up right into the town. We'll kind of build up a little bit along here just to kind of get a bit more action happening on this road, but really it's just kind of a bit of a shortcut into this area. So no trucks are going to be allowed on this one, but they will be allowed on this one. So this is kind of the more like local connection here. It does have, it's a full four-way intersection here. We will see a bit of traffic running on this road in the future, but I think we should probably be fine with the way this is. I really wanted to get crosswalks here in case people were using this to the dirt path to walk around, which is why I put this to be a bike path, kind of encouraging people to use bikes instead of cars to get in and around here. But yeah, so this bike path goes all the way through to here, right down into kind of the main hub here. So now we're going to be looking at the actual park itself. So we got the what's this one called? The museum. So I thought that was perfect. Maybe there's some artifacts from the fort area that can be on display here. So we're going to use the path with lights on it. All right, so the dog fort is now complete, and look at this. We got our little area over here for parking, and we have our museum, our interpretive center. It's got the gift shop, the washrooms, the restaurant, all in one. And then we have our maintenance buildings behind here with some maintenance trucks. These are from the sub buildings. And then we come all the way over to here where we have our path. And I made sure the lights in this whole area were well kind of thought out. They're all connected and whatnot. But it's basically two nature reserve paths with a dirt path in the middle. And we follow that all the way up to the top of the mountain here, where we get to a bit of a rest stop at the top of the castle. If you're a tour guide or your school trip, this is kind of, climbing up the mountain's difficult, so you have a bit of a rest stop here before you move on to kind of learning about the area. So we have our kind of storytelling area over here with some signs, of course, and then they built this little lookout tower to kind of mimic what it looks like from the air, because maybe this tower is a bit too decrepit. And then if we follow this all the way over to the other side, we get to a bit of a lookout point. And I mean, come on, it's a great view over here. It's got to have a lookout point. We follow this all the way over here where we have another lookout point, which is just a stunning view of the mountains. And then we come all the way over here to where we see some standing stones that the ancients placed. They're still trying to figure out why they placed them here, but we have our cool lookout tower over here, which again just gives a stunning view. So they're fenced off, the standing stones, and they all have some signs telling different details about the standing stones themselves, and we get a cool view of the bridge down here. All right, so now we're gonna kind of go over to this fort's sister tower, which will be over here, and we're just gonna do something a bit similar but much quicker and much smaller. I feel like this one's just gonna be kind of like a bit of like a relay tower or something like that. The light the torch at the top of the tower to signal something to this fort over here, for example, or even down below to the dog castle over here. So let's quickly get going on this. All right, so we have our signal tower done, our little mini fort overlooking this little area here, and I think these two forts play together really well, same kind of style. But what we have is our little maintenance hub over here, using the same building as we used before to kind of show some continuity between the two, and we have our maintenance truck there as well. We have the zoo bathroom with some dirt decals underneath it. You can see them pop through a little bit sometimes, but we have a little non kind of paid area where you can kind of still look over the valley here. Then we get up into here where we have the same kind of features, a little tower kind of overlooking the valley, kind of telling showing what the old tower could have viewed. And then over here as well, we have the big tower, or sorry, the lookout point around the big tower where we can kind of see down into the valley, and then a storytelling area as well. So with that, we have our fort done. We have our town done, minus the detailing, of course. And we have our other fort done with a cool little ancient area over here as well. And a museum / interpretive center. Redid a bunch of roads throughout the area, got it all connected. And so what's next? Well, we have the farms to detail up, that is for sure. But I want to take a little detour all the way over to here, where we left off last time with the town of the dog. So we have a pedestrian bridge connection in this really shallow area to this island. I don't really want to leave the islands blank anymore, so I'm going to make this a bit of a side project in this episode, and we're just going to build up this island a little bit with just a few buildings, and I really kind of want to get some sort of sport, and I thought in the area, and I thought this island could play well with like a small sports stadium. So we're going to do that, and then maybe over here with this other island, because it is a good connection, but I really like the water connection here mainly. I'd rather not have a bridge, so maybe we can throw in a destroyed bridge and make this a bit of an abandoned island. That'd be really cool. Maybe a lighthouse over here, and we'll kind of work this into a bit of a theme. Maybe it got too expensive to maintain. Yeah, so first things first though, we're going to get a road connection from over here into the island specifically, because we already have a pedestrian connection. I'd also rather get a road connection in as well for maintenance purposes. All right, so this little side project was a lot of fun. Welcome to King's Island, and it's got some parking. It's got my favorite bridge in the entire game, connecting it up. And yeah, so let's kind of go through it really quickly. So we got some hills in the landscape, kind of like one dominant hill right in the middle, but a couple modern buildings kind of tied in with a lot of more historical buildings. And then we have a small soccer stadium in here with a bus stop, which we're going to get a bus into here. And yeah, I thought this was a really, really fun idea. It's good use of space. It's definitely gone through some redevelopments as well, which I really like. And it ties in pretty well with our previous build. So a bit of a small detour here. We're almost done, because we're going to need to now pretend that there used to be a bridge that left this road here onto this island, where we can build up a bit of an abandoned kind of island. So let's get going on that. Alrighty, so we have our little abandoned island at the end of our little side project here. So I just took down this mountain a little bit so that we have a bit of a better view of the lighthouse here. And the lighthouse kind of runs over here where we have some fallen logs, an old steps up where we have an old abandoned cabin and an old pier as well. And then throughout the island we have some hidden old houses as well, and fallen trees. It's definitely fallen into disrepair. And then we have the old bridge. The pillars are still there. They never took them out, but there they are. It kind of shows a bit of an old connection with the islands. They used to connect, and it's just fallen off into disrepair. And I feel like that kind of ties in our last build a little bit better. Now that we're kind of past the halfway point in the series, which is amazing, and I'm just loving how this turned out. So let's go back to our main project, and we are now going to look at building in some farms. I really want to make sure that this looks like realistic farmland, and we're also going to check up on the traffic while we're over here, because it looks like things are flowing pretty good. So we'll get some realistic farms, and I also want to get a bit of a community soccer center, hence the tie-in with the island. And I'm not exactly sure where we'll get that in, but I really think that that is a really fun idea to kind of get into this little town. So we'll tie that in, definitely build up this little hotel area over here as well, and really just fill out the area with some farms. So why don't we begin at the top of the screen, and we'll start over here with these farms, and we'll kind of work our way around the mountain here, and we'll kind of end up over there. So what are we going to do to kind of make these farms? I think the first kind of project is to figure out where like the house of the farm should be, where the all like the sheds and the barns should be, and they're all gonna be various different types of farms. Some of them pastures will just kind of leave a bit more barren like this. Some of them will actually detail up into being actual orchards and stuff like that. So I think a really good spot for the first farmhouse would be right off of this road here. And I think the method of approach here, just to grab a road and find a bit of a better terrain for a house and a couple barns and workshops and whatnot, and then we'll just kind of build off of that. Yeah, it's pretty flat right here. So yeah, let's start with this one. All right, so we've added in a few more farms. This one has a bit of a hidden barn over here, but then we got to the hotel here, an old-fashioned B&B or kind of thing. So we have its kind of work buildings down the hill a little bit, and I added a few more houses and a tree-lined road. So over here, I'm kind of thinking we just kind of let be, but we're gonna add in a bit of park assets and stuff to kind of make it a bit more nice for the area. But this is really very much like a classic bed and breakfast. Maybe like hikers come through here and stay for the day, or people just kind of exploring the historical sites. And perhaps there's tours that leave from the gates of this hotel, so let's kind of just add in a few of those little assets. All right, and just like that, we have a really nice bed and breakfast with one of the sub buildings from the Central Park asset kind of intertwined in here with a little pond. It's the only spot where I could get it where it wasn't destroying the terrain. Yeah, just a bit of a garden space here. And then a huge pasture, which I'm sure that they use for animals or just to have a nice open field. So now we're going to move down the hill, like I mentioned, down into here. And I think this is going to be the best spot for some sort of community center down in here. And then we'll kind of work in a few more kind of pastures and farms. Maybe over here we could actually get some operational farms. The terrain seems a bit more forgiving over there. All right, so we have our little community area here. We got our community soccer football field over here. We got a little community center, gymnasium, and we'll even have a path that runs all the way up to here, where we have a nice lookout over the area. Very, very nice indeed. And yeah, just something really simple, and it adds a lot to the area. It helps really round it out as well. But now we're gonna dive back down into farms. All right, so the farmland's basically done now, and yeah, we did real farms here with the Industries DLC. And the reason why is because I was thinking that it'd be really cool to get a unique factory, and specifically the bakery, because I really like the building and there's a really cool spot for it. So we have some animal pasture, some flour mills, and some crops over here, so everything that we need for the factory itself. Now, we don't need it to make actually any money, so we're going to turn its efficiency down really low. However, Pilot Build Cities also did an orchard in their build as well, so there's going to be a lot of crops flowing around, which is good. So I was looking at this spot here by the hotel as a really cool opportunity to get an old factory up over top of this hill. I thought it'd be really neat to kind of get something like that here. So let's add in a really quick factory before we dive into the detailing on the build. All right, so we have this cool bakery in here now, and I really like this kind of entrance here. Oh, we have a bit of an overlapping tree. I'll fix that in a moment. But, you know, we have these olive trees, which have a good overhang, and I thought this was really nice as a bit of a lead up to the donut factory at the bakery. And yeah, lots of concrete space around for the trucks to move, which is really good. And I turned the efficiency down to 50%, which is the lowest you can go. We have animal products, flour, and crops over here. And I do think it kind of fits this style of the build. You know, perhaps this old landowner, which has this beautiful house, actually owns the factory too, which is nice. And yeah, I think this works out really well. And if we zoom out, I think it shows that this factory is on top of the hill. It's beautiful. And since we do have this old town zoning over top of these roads here, there shouldn't be any truck traffic that moves up through Pilot's area. It should all be flowing through my zone here. You can kind of see all these trucks are turning into the Chien Montagne. So yeah, if we kind of zoom out, we can kind of see how it's coming about. And this is going to be pretty much how it's going to look from the sky here. We have one more little farm here, and then we're going to run into, which I'm just going to do pasture style like we did at the beginning. And then we're going to run into some detailing throughout the build. And with that, I finished my build for round 2 of the Skyline 6 European vacation with a French themed village, and I really enjoyed this episode. We did a lot, as you saw in those cinematics, and I am so happy with it. I'm really glad that I got this opportunity to build this kind of build. I've never done something like this before, so it was a lot of fun to do, and we really connected up the regions that have been built so far in this area, and I think I achieved my goal in doing so. We got a town, we got some forts, we did a little bit of an island build. That was really fun, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and I hope you enjoy the next episode of the Skyline 6, which will be Raid Kitty next Sunday. So I hope you tune in for that one, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.